Good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I welcome you to I think it's now the sixth live talk that we are hosting in this series of Facebook chats that we are trying to have all our followers right throughout the country on issues that are affecting our country, and there are many. I want to firstly start by talking about our health sector and the challenges that we have in the health sector. As you know, many of our people who are now sick and in hospitals right throughout the country, and those who we have lost along the way over the past few days and past few weeks or months, particularly because of COVID and related health issues. Firstly, let me express my sincere condolences to all the families and all the Wantoks. I know that every Papua New Guinean, every one of us, this COVID issue has touched us. Every family, every community, right throughout the country has been affected by this. There is someone that you and I know, some family member of ours, all have either have died or in hospitals facing this massive challenge of trying to overcome this dreaded disease. So my sympathies and my prayers and my thoughts go to each and every one of you, and especially to those who are in hospital as we speak. And COVID is something that has been hotly debated right throughout the country. There are many views, both pro-vaccination and those who are opposing it. These are healthy debates, but I think we've come to a point where everyone knows about COVID. Everyone has heard about COVID. Everyone has felt the impact and the effects of COVID's impact into our families and our communities. So I think at some stage people need to take a break from these debates, and we respect everyone's view. Every view is different from another individual, and that is their right, and we respect that. But we should not be imposing our individual views on another person to be right or wrong. I think each individual is now well informed enough to make up their own decisions, and we all know that vaccination is not mandatory in our country, and we need to also respect those who want to voluntarily be vaccinated as well. I think Papua New Guineans must be allowed to exercise that right to making those decisions. But in light of all the hospitals where the morgues are now full, every day and every hour and every second we have a death taking place in some part of our country, right throughout the country. And that is the reality that we are facing today. So I think debates have come to a situation where we need to move on from it. And I urge all Papua New Guineans to let us have some common sense and let common sense prevail in these discussions, and let us take stock of what we have on hand. And firstly, we have unprecedented number of deaths taking place, and our hospitals are not coping with it because of our lack of preparedness. Now, COVID was around in 2019. I think it was late 2019 when it was starting to be a concern to the world. And of course, in Papua New Guinea, the actual impact of it was felt in 2020 and onwards. So we can't say that COVID just arrived on our doorsteps overnight. It has been here for a while, but our preparedness is lacking. Our hospitals don't have the equipment, don't have the staff, don't have the funding, and certainly don't have the facilities available that can take care of the large number and large volume of people who are seeking help. We know of all the hospital facilities right throughout the country is now crowded. Doctors are at the verge of, and nurses and health workers are exhausted, and government needs to provide some leadership in this. And this is where we are suggesting that they must now ask for help. We have come to a stage where we have to realize that we cannot manage this alone. It is nothing wrong for us to ask for international help. There are facilities and there are capabilities around the world that we can immediately ask, particularly availability of the equipments like ventilators and oxygen capacities in some of the remote areas. I know that for emergency purposes like this, many of the first world countries like Australia and US and everyone else, they have field hospitals which they can set up at very short notice that can immediately attend to this emergency that the crisis that we are now facing. I ask our government and our leaders in the health sector to reach out to many of our partners out there who are more than willing, and they have the capabilities that we require to overcome this crisis. So first and foremost, we should do that. Secondly, I want our government to stop demanding for more plans. I hear now that they're asking for all the provincial health authorities to provide more plans for government to look at it and so that they can address this. While plans are being drawn up and while plans are being discussed and so forth, our people are dying every day. This is unacceptable. I think the government should bite the bullet and immediately release funds to all the major hospitals, all the provincial hospitals, all the district hospitals, and of course allow them to buy medicines and buy equipment so that they can be able to attend to this emergency in a meaningful and constructive way. That is something that government can do immediately. There are already established processes and accounts and financial accountability systems there. Each of the hospitals right throughout the country have got board and management running it. So the level of funding that should go and accountability that they should provide should be immediate. So I urge government to stop discussing this and asking for plans and unnecessary delays while our people are dying. They must step up and make an intervention that it is required of them to do so. I know we have lost many Papua New Guineans and very prominent ones. It's hard to lose knowledge and experience, and older generation of Papua New Guineans are dying at a rapid rate. This loss is a loss not only to the family, but to the country as a whole. And this is an intervention that government must do immediately. We know that vaccination is an hotly debated issue. And vaccination does not necessarily mean that it is a cure for the COVID virus. It is a means to which it will reduce your chances of dying. I agree that there are people who have received vaccination with underlying medical conditions who have also passed on. But these are realities that is facing us. If there is any chance that vaccination will help us survive, I urge Papua New Guineans to do so. Go out there and get vaccinated. If you feel so strongly about it, again, I urge that we respect your right to do that and abstain from vaccination if you feel that this is not something that is for you. But again, as I said in our last conversation, there are many countries in the world where now it's going into billions of people in the first world, like in Europe and in England and Germany, and when you see countries like Italy and Japan and China and India, who are vaccinating their people, America and Australia, vaccinating their people at a very, very fast rate. I'm very certain that it is not the intention of their government that they will give this vaccination that will be detrimental to the people and the population. Now, even younger children are being asked to take vaccination in those countries. They're close to almost 80 to 90% of their population is getting vaccinated. So I ask you to make assessment of those things that are happening around us and around the world before you make a decision. And also to many of the employers who are out there who have the responsibility of the safety of their employees in their companies or their organization. Again, we respect you for the decisions that you are making and the health care that you think that you are providing. But also, we have to look at the humanity of this. Many of the individuals and families who are earning salaries in those organizations don't have any other income. And they look after many, many families. Not only their family, but the extended family as well. So please do so with due care. Be concerned about all those citizens that will be affected, because the breadwinner will lose employment because of the concerns that the employers are raising. I think, again, common sense should prevail. There are other mechanisms in which we can be able to avoid the exposure of COVID to our employees, including possibly doing testing on a regular basis and attending to all the other precautionary measures and the protocols, COVID protocols that we are being urged to follow. So I think as a country and as citizens of this country and of course residents of this country, we must work together in ensuring that the safety of everyone is our equal responsibility, and that we work together in achieving this in a orderly and in a common sense manner. So those are my few comments regarding the COVID issue and health crisis that we are facing in the country. I know that this is not a time to talk about other health challenges, but I urge government to establish facilities in each of the towns and provinces so that the COVID patients are isolated in a separate facility from the general hospital, so that we do not go on not being able to attend to all the other health issues and challenges and health diseases that we need to face as a country for our people. I think general hospitals and general district hospitals and provinces must be assisted to provide the day-to-day services that they normally provide to the public in an orderly manner. And I know it may be a little bit too late, but I think, for instance, the establishment of Rita Flynn here in Port Moresby and the Taroma Aquatic Center is an example of how the COVID patients can be beefed up. The facilities need to be beefed up, equipment need to be provided, and of course, staffing needs to be increased so that we can attend to these challenges in a more timely and humane manner. I'm certain that many of the countries in the region, Philippines, of course Singapore, Japan, Australia, all the other countries in the region can help provide immediate assistance in healthcare and health workers. Please, I urge the leaders in the health sector and government to reach out to them so that they can be able to assist us manage this crisis. It's not too late, but we can do it. We can do it as a country. We have to work together to achieving that. I will take a few questions in about 15 to 20 minutes time, but That's the first issue on COVID that I wanted to make mention. The second issue is about our economy. In the last few weeks, the government through Treasury and Treasurer, they have released two statements to the country. One was MAEFO, media economic physical output, which is the report for the media, which is the first January to June reports, and then what they assume to be the outcomes that they will get towards the end of the year for 2021. And then, of course, they've last week released what they call a budget strategy paper. Both reports are long delayed. The law provides that it must be released very early, around June, July, and then, of course, a little bit earlier for budget discussions to take place. The strategy paper needs to be adopted early so government departments and agencies are able to go through that. But unfortunately, it has been released only a few weeks back, and now many of the bureaucrats and many of the leaders in those organizations are not able to fully comprehend what the government wants to do and project for the year 2022 budget. I am really worried about how the budget is going to come out in 2022 because we have seen the decline of our economy since 2019, 2020, and now 2021. Our revenue is down, but our government seems to be fixed on increasing the expenditure of government. This has been the case in the last few years, and then it is continuing on into, as per the budget strategy paper, into 2022. They are going to have another record spending year in 2022, as they have done in, of course, 2021, doing in 2021, 2020, and what they have done in 2019. In 19, they've just spent over close to $18 billion in all government expenditure. And in 2020, they've done over 19.3 billion in expenditure. And in 2021, they expect to spend over 20.2 billion in expenditure in 2021. And they are now increasing it up to almost 22 billion kina in 2022. This is by far again a record spending under very difficult economic circumstances and declining revenues given the situation the economy is. So our revenue targets have completely continued to miss the targets that they are setting. And as a result, in 2019, we had only 13.6 billion kina in revenue. That dropped down to 2020 to 12 billion kina. And now they're projecting 13 billion kina, 13.6 billion kina in 2021. But I have a feeling that they will not meet that budget estimates. And of course, in 2022, they are projecting another 15.7 billion, another increase, when they are continuously missing targets. In all these years, they are continuously setting higher targets of revenue. What it simply means is that when you have lower revenues and higher expenditure, then your deficit levels go up. The difference between those two is what we call the deficit. And a deficit is something that you have to now finance, and that means borrowing money to finance that difference. So the difference of close to, in 2019 was close to 4.2 billion kina, which we had to borrow money to fund it. In 2020 was close to 7.3 billion. Now, these figures that we are talking about are unprecedented in our history. These are big, big numbers, and these are big monies that we need to find so that we can have enough money to meet the expenditures that the government is setting. Then in 2021, they are saying that the deficit or the borrowing that they have to do is 6.6 billion. And again, they are saying in 2022 they will go over 6 billion kina again. Now, when you add all those up, when you add 6 billion in 2022, 6 billion, 6.6 in 2021, 7 billion in 2019, and then 2020, and then 4 billion in 2019. You are looking at close to almost 22, 24, 25 billion kina that you Papua New Guineans are borrowing to fund this expenditure madness that we are going through, just spending money just unnecessarily. What it simply means is that we are living beyond our means. Like the family budget, if we are bringing in every fortnight 100 kina, and we are spending as a family over 200 kina every fortnight, that means we are in denial close to all same 100 kina. So this is the same as government. Government is spending more than what it is earning. So as a result, what it has done, and I know that our treasurer and our prime minister has continuously said that, oh, they are replacing Peter O'Neill's cheap loans, expensive loans with cheap loans. Well, if you look through the numbers, it's not quite true. It's just that's just a political point scoring exercise. They are not replacing any old loans with new loans with a lower interest rate. What they have been doing is, because our economy is struggling, the loans that they are getting from IMF and World Bank and even from donor partners like Australia, they know that we are not capable of repaying. So the interest rates they are charging are very minimal. On average, all our foreign debt interest rates about 2.5%. That's what it works out to be, 2.5% on foreign loans. But we are borrowing more money locally. This means that the central bank or Bank of Papua New Guinea is being asked to print more money so that we can be able to fund this. Now, when we've been borrowing from 2019, 2020, 2021, the average rate is about 9-10% per annum. So every kina that we borrow, we must pay 10 to the central bank as interest. Now, when you look at the interest rate the central bank is charging compared to some of the interest rate other central banks around the world are charging, they are charging 0.1% or even less. In some cases, they're going beyond -0. So we are paying quite an expensive price on the interest bill that we are buying for short term. It's not a long-term loans that we are getting. We are getting 12 months, 24 months, and this is a sort of interest rates that we are paying. So what we have done is we've increased our loan portfolio. In 2017, let's go back to 2017. Our loan book was 23.5 billion in 2017. That's the total loan, both foreign and domestic loan combined. Then in 2018, it was 25.8 billion. But when this government went in there, they adjusted it. They said that they will have to put some arrears of some of the bills that were being taken up by SOEs and state-owned enterprises. For the first time, a government has ever done that, to include it as a total public debt of the country. And they increased it up to 28 billion kina. That was the loan in 2018, 28 billion kina. Now, that 28 billion kina is the total loan from 1975 to 2018. Well over 42, 43 years. Now, I know when many people said, yeah, under Peter O'Neill's government over 80 years we borrowed. Yes, we did borrow a substantial amount of money. But if you go around the country and see all the roads that we have built, all the airports that we have built, all the wharfs that we have built, all the bridges that we have built, all the schools and all the education infrastructure and health infrastructure we have built. All these loans were invested in infrastructure that is serving our population, not for 1 year, but over many, many years to come. And that is an investment that we had made to an infrastructure that will build the economy of our country. That is why in 2011, when we took over government from the previous government, the total GDP of the country was 40 billion, just over 40 billion kina. And by the time we left in 2018 or 2019, it was 84. So in 8 years, we have doubled the size of our economy. In 8 years, double. And that growth can only be funded by such an investment in infrastructure, an investment that is going to build the economy. And that is what we have done. But interestingly enough, our debt level is now projected, the budget strategy paper says for 2022, they project our debt levels to be 52.8 billion kina. 52, almost 53 billion kina. That's from 2018 to 2022, in less than 4 years. In less than 4 years, our debt has virtually almost doubled. Virtually almost doubled. But within that time, what have we done with the money? Where did we invest the money? That 24 or 25 billion kina that we have borrowed within that period of time. This is a question that every Papua New Guinean must ask themselves. Where did we invest it? Now, everybody can say that because of COVID, we've invested in COVID, but we all know the results of that now. Last Parliament, I think the Treasurer, or I think it was Governor of Isipik, who pronounced that the government spent just over 500 million kina, and most of the monies were given to the districts. Well, I can tell you that of the funds that were said to be for COVID for 2 million kina, it was included in the original budget of 10 million kina to each district. So there is no additional money to the districts. If there's additional money that has been given to government members, well, I stand to be corrected. But I can say for the members who are in opposition, about 25 or so of us, we have received no such support, only DSIP. And this year, now we're in the 11th month in the next few days, and many of the members in opposition have only received 3 million kina. So such an investment in COVID support is not there. And you can see that the 25 billion kina that they are borrowing, it has been just wasted. I think it'll be interesting to see when the audits take place, to see where the money has gone. We are not talking about a small amount of money. This is a big amount of money that can stimulate and grow the economy of our country. The situation today is that it is a story of missed opportunities. We have commodity prices are at very high levels today. LNG is very high. Copper is in record prices. Gold prices are very high, and the oil prices are high as well. Now, with those revenues coming into the country's economy should be stable, revenues should be up, and of course, investment in the right sectors that can stimulate the economy should take place. But that is not happening. The government is completely mismanaging the economy through wastage, payments of non-priority projects, and of course we hear about government MPs and some districts receiving favored treatments, including checks being distributed for what they call SIP programs. I think it is special intervention program that the government has introduced and parked a lot of money into that budget item, and it's at the discretion of the Prime Minister and the Treasurer to allocate that to members of Parliament and favored districts right throughout the country. Now, this is certainly for political, as a political sweetener, that's fine, but certainly not good for the country. It's just a blatant wastage of public money that will not be able to make any impact on the stimulation of the economy, and will not reduce our dependency on the loan that we are getting. So I want to just conclude this discussion on the economy by saying this. I will post a table so that all this data that we are presenting, so that you can analyze the story that has been done so far. And we've gone as far as 2017, but you can expand that all the way down to 2002. The last time when we had debt to GDP ratios were in the 1980s and the 1990s. We are going back to those levels when Parliament, through Somare government, deliberately put in the debt to GDP ratio at 35% to guide us and to discipline us so that we are able to live within our means as debt to GDP ratios by legislation. Unfortunately, this government has used its numerical strength and the appetite for more debt and appetite for more projects for favored members of Parliament has now driven our loan book up to 52 billion kina, by almost 25 billion kina debt over the last 3.5 years, or 3 years. And we are in there for a great shock. And I want to just caution Papua New Guineans. I know we are going to the elections, but this is going to be a tough elections coming up. And the new government that is going to come in, whoever it is, it's not going to be easy to turn around the economy that is being driven down to this level of situation where their position. It's very precarious, and now we don't have the healthcare in our country is collapsing. Education system is collapsing. Even in healthcare, where the Australian government has funded the payment of wages for all the church-run hospitals throughout the country, our government is not even able to put their counterpart funding in there to match the Australian government. And also our inability to work with the Australian government. Some of the subsidies for some of the school fee subsidies for some of the kids, about 130 or 140,000 kids right throughout the country, are missing out on I think 80 million kina that the Australian government has provided. This kind of lack of attention to doing what is right and getting some of these programs off the ground so that our kids can benefit or our health system can benefit is depriving our nation and our people. And this goes to the core of the leadership of many of these sectors and in government. That they are busy playing golf, busy running around the country, having a good time, busy signing agreements which have no meaning whatsoever, while the country continues to sink. So this is where we are, and I think that it is important that we give the opportunity of our country to come out of this by making sure that we have competent, experienced leaders in many of these sectors, not only in ministries but also in departmental heads. I think when Marape became Prime Minister, he put a very big announcement to the country saying that non-performing ministers and departmental heads will be sacked or moved on. Well, none of that has happened. Most are still remaining in the same position, and most are not performing. And that is to the damage of our country and our people and our economy. It is not doing anyone any good. It's not doing the Prime Minister and his government any good either. So I think we all need to wake up and put our heads together so that we can be able to address the challenges that we have before us together. To summarize, I will take a few questions very soon, and we will go through making a few comments and replying to those. But I want to thank each and everyone for just tuning in today, and we'll be able to find a solution to some of the challenges we have. I know that I will be able to I'll be able to put this summary of the table that I've made reference to after this chat, so that you can be able to go through some of the details. I've kept it as simple as possible. Most of the data that I've presented today are reference from the reports that we get from government itself, from the MAEFO, from the budget strategy paper, the annual reports of the Bank of Monetary Policy reports that we get regularly from the central bank, that is available to the public. IMF reports, you go to their website and you can see World Bank reports, and many of the other observers of our economy and our country. These are their observations and the data they collect together that I'm making reference to. So I want to thank you for listening. The first question that has come from is from Junior, and he's saying that as all the districts receive the 2 million kina COVID funding, again, let me say that I have not seen the actual additional COVID funding other than the DSIP that was budgeted for. The district service improvement funds that go straight to the districts managed by the CEOs and DDA and the district treasury, it's 10 million kina budgeted. Now, if they claim that part of it is COVID, I have certainly no knowledge of it, but I can give you an example. My Yalabupangia district of my place, I want to say that we only received 3 million kina this year. I have not seen any COVID funding to date. I also got a question here. They said, what do you think about privatizing the SOEs? Well, it is a good idea, and at some stage we will come to that. But today, most of them are absolutely in debt, mismanaged, a lot of political interference, and the recent sacking of Ezekiel Taraka and some of the other board members and chairmen and CEOs, and resignation of some of the CEOs like Telecom CEO, and departure of another CEO from Air Niugini, and the list goes on, is a clear indication that all is not well in the state-owned enterprises. Of course, we have been reassured that they are reforming, restructuring, but this is an old story that's too familiar to Papua New Guineans. I agree that something needs to be done, but if we sell it as they are at present, what will happen is that we are going to get nothing. Because remember, when we sold PNGBC, we sold it for 150 million kina only. And now similar thing will happen with Telecom, or whether it'll be PNG Power or Air Niugini or all the other SOEs. So yes, firstly, you need to strengthen the balance sheet, making sure that the balance sheet is worth something to be able to sell to someone, and that the business case must be made that when they come in there, the businesses that they are going to run is going to be able to give them a return for their investment. No new investor will buy something when they know that they are not going to ever return on it. So these are issues that the state needs to address, and address them immediately. I am one believer who want to, for a short term, go on public tender and privatize the management of these institutions. This has been done before in our country, and I have studied this before. When Air Niugini was struggling, I think it was in the 80s, the then government brought in KLM, the German German airline, and their executives to come and manage Air Niugini for us. I think the managing director's name was Dieter Sheffield, or Sheffield, I think that was his name. And he was able to turn the airline around to a very profitable airline, and something that we are proud of it today. That must happen because if you privatize the management first, they will strengthen the viability of the company, make the balance sheet look better, and get rid of the unnecessary political interference that we politicians continue to bring to many of these SOEs. I think give them a fixed term. If it's a 5-year management contract, give it to them and get them the freedom to run it with the set benchmarks for them to achieve. And the benchmarks in terms of profitability and service and pricing of the services that they have, like power rates must come down, water rates must come down. Those are benchmarks that we can give to the management to achieve and then privatize it. And I think right now, one or two of the institutions like Air Niugini, under very difficult circumstances, are doing a great job, and I hope they are supported by government to do so. But I would think of privatizing management first. Ken asks and says that O'Neill government borrowed 2.2 billion in 2018. Yes, that is true. Yeah, we borrowed 2.2 billion in 2018 to fund the deficit. Our deficit was, I think, about 2.5% at that time, of memory, and of GDP. And we deliberately, one will recall, and if we go back and see some of the public statements that I've made or the treasurers have made during that time, we deliberately went into a deficit budget so that we can borrow money to build infrastructure. We did not borrow money to pay bills. We did not borrow money to pay wages. We did not borrow money to support the political system and give it to the districts and so forth. That is why we were able to have a lower deficit budget and deficit levels, and that's why we borrowed 2.2 billion in 2018. But from there, right now you're looking at 25 billion kina to be borrowed in by the end of 2022. That is a massive jump over a period of less than 4 years. Dean asks, how can we overcome and repay these huge debts and loans that we have? Well, Dean, that's a very, very good question. Many of these loans that our government is getting, in terms of the foreign debt that we have carried, are quite cheap, and they are long term. Some are for 25 years and some are for 30 years. And the repayments are very low in nature. So our cash flow and our revenues can afford to pay that. We must stop printing money in the country. We must stop borrowing money and having a temporary advance facility, what they call TEF. This is forcing central bank to lend money to government on this arrangement, and it is like just giving a credit card to somebody who's already in debt to just go and spend money. That is precisely what the TEF does. So I think we need to get rid of some of these unnecessary borrowings that we are doing, and limit our borrowing in domestic borrowing at the central bank, and try and live within our means. And the second issue is that every year we've been having reviews taking place at the public service and the cost of keeping the public service delivery in the country. I think it's time now where we need to go back and probably refocus on making sure that every public service employee has got a fixed contract. So rather than going out there on this big industrial award system, where you negotiate as a industry in the public service, and many of these hidden costs we are not taking account of. As a result, provincial governments are spending at their own rate. Departments are spending at their own, unsupervised, uncontrolled. And when you add all this up, it becomes such a massive problem where we are overspending all the time. So simply living within our means and our own income and our own revenue should be able to address the issue about not borrowing money and reducing debt over time. Christopher asks, what will you do this time when you are able to form government in 2022? Well, thank you, Christopher. I think it's a very good question, because I know that when we lost government in 2019, there's been a lot of soul searching, a lot of review of what we have done, what we could have done better, some of the decisions that we have made. We had to rethink some of those again. In hindsight, that's always the case. We think that we could have made better decisions at that time. But sometimes you make decisions on the advice that you get and the circumstances that you are in. And it may be right, it may be wrong. And that's because we are all human. So the last 2.5, 3 years has been a time of reflection for me. And it has been a situation where I had to restructure our own party and our own members in our own party. And we have a core group. We have 16 members in PNC as we speak today. Very solid, stable men, leaders in their own right, mature leaders, experienced leaders who are not most of them are doing the second and third terms and fourth terms. And I believe that is the foundation on which we can build from in 2022 and going forward. We are certainly one of the very few parties that has got a proven track record of delivery on the policies that we have. We are at present fine-tuning those policies and making sure that we correct some of the challenges that were there before us in the years that we were in government. So I think you will find that when we have an opportunity, and if the people of our country feel that we are the right team, you will see a different government, government that is focused, government that will bring economic growth back on track, invest in infrastructure, improve the quality of education in our country, and certainly we will be funding every child in this country for the education and well-being of our kids. That is going to be our cornerstone, because you must realize that education is an opportunity. If you educate a child, it gives that child an opportunity to become somebody. And that is why I believe in education. I grew up in a village. I spent first 16 years of my life in the village. If it wasn't for going to school and in a primary school in Pangia and then high school in Yalabu, I wouldn't be where I am today. That education has given me an opportunity to be somebody and make something out of my own life and try and be a decent citizen of our country to contribute meaningfully to our nation's development. So these are things that we are working. We will be having our party convention in February 2022 in Goroka, where we will be announcing a policy framework that we are going to promise to the nation, and I can assure you that we will deliver on that promise. So we look forward to working with many Papua New Guineans right across the country who are certainly giving us a very strong support. Simple moms and dads who are struggling to keep food on the table for their families. Listen, my heart bleeds for you, but you know, I am not in a position to help, but 2022 is not far away. Elvis is asking, what happened to the 10 million kina funding to the scientists to produce COVID vaccine? That's a question that you should reserve for Marape and the leading scientist Kramer. They can answer that question. And but I think it's another example of cargo cult approach where we jump to things without jump to decisions and jump to doing things without thinking it through properly. You know, and I think we've seen the result of those kinds of decisions, not only in the health sector and the 10 million kina for this COVID vaccine. I mean, if some of the best scientists in the world are not able to find a cure for COVID yet, and a few of our scientists, and you know, I have the greatest respect for their professions, but you know, giving false hope and expectations to our people is something that I don't appreciate. So I urge you to ask the health minister, the scientists, whoever the scientist is, and of course Marape himself. Tindini, who asked me, he says, would you like to ask on the floor of Parliament where the COVID funds have gone? Yes, we will. And the last session of Parliament, the opposition has asked. And today is either the Treasurer or the Minister for Health or the Prime Minister, if not come out clear on where those funds have gone. They promised to do an audit. That audit is not been done. And as a result, you can assume that the funding has been misused. That's the only conclusion that I can reach. So unfortunately, this government is not going to be accountable for some of these funding expenditures that they've made. But I'm certain that any government in the future, whoever it is, can be able to do proper audits to see where and how the funds have been spent. There's another question, very good questions, and why are we building a 10 million kina car park? Again, it is certainly a joke to try and spend 250 million kina plus in Parliament to just look after 111 members of Parliament. Absolutely unnecessary, and I think government needs to rethink that. I'm certain that there is enough parking outside of the fence for us to park cars if there's some of these members of Parliament and some of the ministers who have got many cars and seem to be like car dealers at their yards in their homes. If they've got too many cars, they can park outside the fence of Parliament. I don't think we need a new car park to warrant such an unnecessary expenditure. Now I hear that Parliament budget was accepted by PM and the Treasurer. Well, normally many of these budget requests are sent to Treasury, and Treasury then sees what availability of funds and then allocates funds, and it is not the responsibility of the Prime Minister or Treasurer to run around allocating funds and making commitments. This is something unheard of, and certainly a new way of thinking by the current government, making commitments and trying to commit funds on the run when the source of funds have not been identified. So we shall wait and see. Mr. Jack Carrico is saying that yes, a good idea, a field hospital at all port would be good to use and vacate. Again, field hospital is something that has been practiced all around the world, and especially during conflicts like wars and things, or very big outbreak of disease or viruses, or pandemic like we are facing today. Field hospitals are a common thing around the world, and our government needs to start acting on it. I said it may be a little bit too late. We may have picked the COVID situation, but the way we structure our society, the way our people and our communities live, we live close to each other. We associate with our relatives and everybody in very close proximity. That gives rise to the continued spread of the virus that is taking place. And it'll be a long time before we eliminate or we reduce the COVID positive cases around the country. So I just urge everybody, please don't be thinking about yourself, think about your families, think about your relatives, think about your communities, but more importantly, think about those children that you have. These are your responsibilities, and that you need to be healthy and alive to take care of them. The Kiwi wants to know if you know what to do with a software hack at the finance department. Well, it's interesting because we have spent hundreds and millions of kina with a company called Technology One to have that infrastructure and software built. So having spent that kind of money, you would have thought that there would be enough measures there to protect hacking or all the security interferences, illegal interferences that finance department. But really, you don't know what's happening at the finance department. Nobody's coming out. Everybody's gone into hiding. No public announcement. It could be simply that they've run out of money or they've run out of checkbooks to print. So that's why they're shutting it down and giving this excuse that there is a software hack. So I'll leave it to you to judge for yourself, and then we can take it on from there. Kedewe is asking, where is the APEC report? Well, your guess is as good as mine. I'm told that it's ready. I'm interested in it to be tabled. The sooner it's been tabled, the better. I hope the APEC minister or prime minister or someone who's out there listening, if they are out there at all, please bring it to Parliament so that the country can know what has happened. How would you open Pogora Mine as soon as possible? Well, Pogora Mine Junior can certainly reopen immediately. The company and the government have the capacity to do so, but there is lack of trust, there is lack of confidence, and that is now holding up the opening of the mine itself. It was wrong to close the mine when gold prices were at its highest. I think it was $2,000 per ounce or so, and nobody such an operating gold mine when the prices are at that high. Even if there was some dispute, they should have agreed to continue operating the mine while the negotiations were going on. Now that the negotiations have concluded, government needs to tell us how it's going to fund its equity increase from 5% now to, I understand, 53%. So how is it going to fund the 48% shares that they are getting? If it's going to be found over a 10-year period, which some of the reports that we are listening to, that would simply mean that Barrick is going to get in there and take the high-quality gold out first, make the most out of it, and by the time we take over the mine, there will be nothing left there for us to take over. This is a very casual observation from where I am, because I don't have access to the details. But if we are going to pay for our equity over 10 years, I can guarantee you that there will be nothing there for us to take over. So main thing is that go back to the drawing boards. And I'm certain that Pogora Mine will open after the elections in 2022, because the deadlines and the commitments and the promises that Marape himself and the government has made to Barrick or anybody else and other stakeholders, they have not fulfilled them. They have missed every promise and every timeline that they have set. That is why there is no trust. There is no confidence. I'm certain that the developer is just going to continuously extend the negotiations and continue the talk while the government is got no other options but to wait. So we might as well just agree that we will wait until after the 22 elections, and we can do everything possible under to try and get that mine to reopen and maximize the benefits that are going to come to Papua New Guinea and the provincial government and of course the landowners. We've got a few more minutes. I know we've gone past 9 o'clock, but we've got a few more questions that are coming through, so I will take it on and quickly answer them, and then we will call it a night. But Japet has said, can we have a law that debt can only be used for investment purposes? That is possible. You know, we have restricted debt to 35% of GDP by legislation before, and this government has increased it up to 60%. But these percentages are not something that we should be trying our best to fulfill. They are just a guide. We are supposed to be living within our means and living below those limits. But somehow this government has got the idea that this is a room that they have, so they can go and borrow as much as they can. I believe that is wrong. The investments that we should be making are things that will improve the quality of lives for our people, and of course give them a meaningful, productive life, get a meaningful employment, or be in it in SMEs and in business. Those are investments that we should be making. Invest in roads, invest in bridges that will build the economy of our country. So yes, Japet, it can be done. Gavokila, he says that how would you run this country while COVID and the economy are both causes of the issue? Well, these are challenges that we need to address. And COVID is something that is going to be with us for a long, long time, just like the common flu. It will be around for a long time. We have to manage it. One thing that Papua New Guineans need to do is we need to conduct a healthier way of life. There's lapasin blo kake buai na spit nothing. That's transmitting and spreading virus around everywhere. You know, you spit in buai, you are spitting your saliva, and all those things are exposing to other people and other well-being of other people. So you must change in way. Suppose you like kake buai, we have to be responsible. Same packet or lik bottle na, you know, spit into that, and you can then dispose that properly, rather than spit nothing logada up na. You know, this is not our way of life. You have to realize that our villages are very clean. It's because there is respect for their houses, respect for their property, and respect for our landlord. But we seem to, wherever the city is or wherever we are, the bus stop or somewhere, you may spit nothing. And then we don't exercise, we don't eat well. You may where I mean, you know, good luck body blow you mean. We need to reduce the underlying health issues that Papua New Guineans seem to have. Plenty blaming walk lo die low heart attack because we are carrying too much weight. Plenty blaming got plenty we are diabetic, and diabetic cases are on the rise in our country. And because lo you make plenty sweet na plenty sugar na kind sweet plus something you may walk like sim. Picking the Karala Coca-Cola, you may buy Coca-Cola and give him, and got plenty sugar inside. So all this like passing, you may look at in family and keep our health good plan. This is something that we need to change. The economy, again, simply we have to live within our means. Don't borrow too much, even if borrowing is something that we have to do. But you don't have to borrow beyond your ability to repay. And if the economy is not growing, you don't have to keep on borrowing. If there's growth and there is employment and there is businesses becoming successful and that they're growing, this is an environment in which you can borrow to invest in key economic infrastructure that can be able to help you boost that growth even further. Is this government able to prepare for the elections in 2022? So far, I don't think so. From what we gather, they will require 400 million kina to run the elections. If they are saying that the ward system and the ward councillors should go and update our common role, you are trusting politicians to update their own common role. That must be the joke of the day, because politicians and numbers are not something that go something that they are friendly with. They by only manipulate him, plan the old members of the parliament, some blah blah number nothing, some kind vote or straight blah vote. So now you are asking them to go and update the census and update the common role. This kind of unnecessary government interventions need to stop. And now we hear that Prime Minister and the party leaders and the cabinet have appointed a ministerial committee to supervise the elections. This electoral commissioner's job is a constitutional office. It's independent. It's not supposed to be subject to political interference. First time lo history lo country lo close to 50 years now. 2025 by 50 years. Na yumi ka sa tintin lo go na waging rubbish passing lo election is tabiat lo tintin lo leader. Once you are defeated or once you have been replaced or you simply give him well or all money got good la tintin only got number blow run in country. People must have their say, and that's only through the elections once every 5 years. So meeting or some government got obligation to look at him people blow you mean making sure some election must come up blow time. The elections, if it does, some people are saying it will be delayed. Well, let me say this: if it goes past the date in which the writs are going to be issued, I can tell you this: every member of parliament, including myself and everyone, including Prime Minister, will not be members of parliament from that day onwards. So you will not have a government, you will not have a parliament. So let me simply say that elections must and will go ahead. So not going to worry too much lo desla. Just work him strong la tintin lo vote as well and vote him good la leader. Some blah blah midla stop inside the parliament there, please. If we have not done the right thing, vote us all out. So the black and will nubla line come inside. Plan the man who are in there for self-interest that's all. So I urge you to think properly. Some of the time walikam na give him lik sweet pla totok na sweet pla pasin na kai na you meeting also memolo bisla good la leader. Those are leaders who are going in there for their own interest. Looks in big name na try lo look at them all yet. They don't care about the people. Let the people vote in a free and fair way. Na you may got respect in this result. Na by me forming one bla good bla government of 2022. Remember that 2022 is the time when we are going to go to the elections, and by me come up 50 years. We have to reflect to the last 50 years and see where we have come from. Now we cannot continue to make the same mistakes. RM Toktok Giaman man, or Kusa man, Plandi man research working Toktok Tasol na, Nogat Exen or Nogat Kaikai Sakamable. All this line pull up lo parliament. So please, all man Mary, you play Tintin now working this issue. What are your thoughts on the sale of Digicel to Telstra? Well, I think Australian government is funding this. It's really not Telstra. Telstra is put in probably 250 million or something, from what I have read, dollars into this transaction of 1.6 billion US dollars. Now, if the Australian government is so concerned about PNG and our infrastructure, and the only reason why they are buying is they think that they will stop the Chinese from doing business with PNG, which is fair enough. And the Australian government's got every right to protect its national interest and security. But it could have been done in partnership with the PNG government and PNG. They could have, it's not the first time that we have approached Telstra. We have asked Telstra in the past to come and rescue Telecom, and they did not. And today they come and give another monopoly of Digicel. So you think for yourself and decide. It is not for Papua New Guinea's interest, and that is simply given. But if they wanted to help Papua New Guinea, and if they wanted to protect their national interest, we should have worked with Papua New Guinea. and establish a entity which Papua New Guineans can also call their own, and become the national monopoly that it is now today. So I think that they need to rethink this one. The Australian government must never forget we were there for them during their time of need, which began in the Second World War. As recent as the asylum seekers issue, we were there for them. And it is time they treated us with some decency and work together in developing and managing our country, for not only for Australia's interest and security, but also for Papua New Guinea and its well-being of our people. Jesse asked the same question about purchase of Telstra. As I said, yes, it does warrant us to make sure that our national interest is also protected, and government needs to have an open discussion with the Australian government. There's nothing to have a hard conversation with Australia and Australian government. It is about respecting each other, and we are going to be long-term partners. We are going to be long-term neighbors and best of friends. So having an honest and direct dialogue is very important. What do you think about the health services, government to hand over health services to health church-run services? I think the churches are doing a great job, and when we were in government, we did help fund many of the health workers' salaries, and so try to help fund many of the health and education services of the churches. Government must continue with that and build a capacity around the churches. So slowly our public service or public assets and public government-run hospitals and education services will slowly be taken over by churches in the long run, but we must help them build capacity. Loasa asks, will you reduce tax when you win the elections? We are looking at the numbers, and I will be making some really interesting announcements in February 2022 during our party convention. We have to look through the numbers to see the level of damage that has been done to the economy as we speak. But one thing is certain, that personal income tax must be reduced, and company income tax must be reduced, so that we can generate more and more income through more people getting into businesses and more businesses becoming profitable. If the volume of the taxpayers increase, then the revenue of the taxpayers will also increase. Not necessarily by increasing the tax rates will increase the revenue, but increasing the volume of the taxpayers can also increase the revenue of our country. Tamara said, says, we love your free education. Will you improve quality after 2022? Quality will always be an issue because of the large number, with 2.2 million kids going to school and the less number of teachers out there. And this is where we need to find a way to improve quality. When we were in government, we needed to rewrite the syllabus again and the curriculum again, so that we can go back to standard-based education system, because the outcome-based education system introduced earlier destroyed the quality of education in the country. Why I say that is that because elementary and year 1 and year 2 in grade 1 and grade 2 in primary schools were taught in some places in Toktok, and the kids were confused. And these years are the best learning times for any child, and as a result, the child was slow to learn over the years, and was not able to catch up, and the quality dropped, teacher quality dropped, because teachers were not trained properly. And these are things that we need to go back and address them, and it's hard work. It will take some time, but I think we can do it. Greg asks, what would you do to quickly rebuild the investor confidence? Very, very good question. Today, I can tell you that over the last 2.5 years, there's been almost zero foreign direct investment in the country. almost zero, apart from the grants that we are getting, and of course import revenue we're getting from all the minerals that are coming into the country. Other than that, there's been no new investment in any field whatsoever in Papua New Guinea. That is a indication of people lacking confidence in government. When government is changing decisions and changing rules and changing laws without proper consultation and proper engagement of stakeholders, you will find that the stakeholders will withdraw and say, you do your own thing. This is precisely what's happening. So what we need to do is establish a government that when it says that this is what we stand for, the investors will fall in line because they know that this is the decision and the position that you have taken. Not changing Toktok, na Tintin, na RM Toktok lo kain manu sa atin sa Saulan, then the entire system becomes confused. The investor will keep his money somewhere else, and we suffer because we don't have any spin-off business, we don't have direct employment, no income for our families, no jobs for our workers, and that's where we are today. But I can assure you that with a new government in place in 2022, you will see the confidence return to PNG. PNG is well regarded in many of the global communities right throughout the world. You must remember that. Don't think that the world has forgotten us. When we went out to borrow money to build the first LNG project in the country, we were oversubscribed by many of the global funds and the banks who were trying to lend money to this project. We were oversubscribed. Now that is to a country that people think is very unstable, which shows that there is huge confidence in Papua New Guinea, and we just have to do is believe in ourselves, and we have to have a government that is stable with its decisions, and not changing the goalposts and the rules at any time and anywhere. Of course, we've got so many other questions that are coming through about the economy and about sitting fees and why are they suspending our Public Finance Management Act because of COVID. Well, that's an interesting point because they're using the Pandemic Act not to go out and tender for any project, not to go out and use the public service management process to account and bring transparency in the expenditure. They're using pandemic because Pandemic Act gives them immunity. That is why the government has come up with an excuse to introduce a Pandemic Act that is not accountable to anyone. I don't believe it's accountable to the parliament itself too. So I'm certain that a new government coming into 2022 will have an interesting time reviewing all this. Anyway, once again, let me thank each and every one of you for joining me today. We've gone over time by almost 20 minutes. It's only because there's a lot of questions and a lot of interest in what the issues that we have brought forward. And let me conclude by saying my sincere condolences to all the families who have lost their loved ones because of the COVID pandemic in the last few weeks and months. But also I want to pay special tribute to two iconic figures that we have lost this month, and that is Peter Luz, one of our longest serving members of parliament, one of the founders of our country. My condolences. I join all the Papua New Guineans and express our sincere sympathy and prayers to the family of Sir Peter Luz. And also to one of our sporting icons of our country, Mr. Martin Benny, Commonwealth champion, boxing champion. I had the privilege of meeting him a few weeks back, 2 weeks or so ago. What a gentleman, and may he rest in peace. I've had a very fortunate occasion of meeting him, and I thank him and his family for giving me that opportunity. May he rest in peace, and our prayers and thoughts are with the families. May God bless you. We'll talk next time. Thank you very much for joining me, and look forward to our next chat.